This is Noir Alley, coming to you from the lush and languid confines of Bar 355 in Oakland. Now, some viewers have been waiting for this day since we started this show 8 years ago. It's the first Noir Alley broadcast of a film often described as the Citizen Kane of film noir. It's The Killers, released by Universal Pictures in 1946 to much critical acclaim and box office success. I have previously shown Don Siegel's 1964 remake of the film, but today is this landmark movie's Noir Alley debut. The Killers is famous for pairing two gorgeous and sexy newcomers, Burt Lancaster and Ava Gardner. Lancaster had signed a contract with Hal Wallace and made a screen test for Desert Fury, but the film wasn't yet in production when producer Mark Hellinger saw that test and hired Lancaster for The Killers, which made him literally an overnight sensation. By contrast, Ava Gardner had signed a contract with MGM in 1941 when she was 18 years old and had already appeared in 26 pictures without the studio ever realizing it had one of the era's biggest stars under contract. In fact, it was only through a lucky break that Gardner got this role. Hellinger was planning to cast Audrey Totter, a stablemate of Gardner's at MGM, until Totter opted to make The Lady in the Lake for her friend Robert Montgomery, a decision Audrey rued gracefully for the rest of her life. Mark Hellinger was one of the essential producers in the film noir movement, having come to Hollywood after establishing himself as a colorful and flamboyant newspaper columnist in New York. Young, brilliant, and brash, Hellinger instantly established himself by producing rough-and-tumble crime pictures like The Roaring Twenties, They Drive by Night, and High Sierra, masculine sagas with a full measure of swagger and style. His dream was to adapt one of Ernest Hemingway's novels, but all he could afford was a short story, specifically a 3,000-word tale written in 1927 that featured Hemingway's recurring character, Nick Adams. The original story comprises the famous opening sequence of The Killers, with Phil Brown as Nick Adams, Harry Hayden and Bill Walker working in the diner, and Charles McGraw and William Conrad memorably playing a pair of out-of-town hitmen come to ice the Swede, the former boxer played by Lancaster. It is, in fact, the credited screen debut of Conrad, who had been until this a writer and actor on radio. To put flesh and blood on the story's bare bones, Hellinger enlisted the help of John Huston, who'd co-written the screenplay for High Sierra in 1940. Of course, this wasn't a picture for Warner Brothers, where Huston was under contract, so he wrote it in secret, working with a young storyteller who'd become his protege, Richard Brooks. Thanks to Hellinger's subterfuge, neither guy got a writing credit, which went solely to Anthony Wheeler. But it was Brooks and Huston who developed the intricate serpentine storyline, which follows an insurance investigator, played by Edmund O'Brien, exploring the circumstances of the Swede's mysterious murder. The complex flashback structure in which we meet all the nefarious players who figure in the Swede's demise is largely what makes this feel like the noir equivalent of Citizen Kane. Now, if you've ever wondered what a producer does, a good producer, their primary job is to assemble and inspire the team that creates the film. That's where Hellinger hit the jackpot on his first independently produced movie, hiring the perfect cast and crew to bring this story to life. Director Robert Siodmak, cameraman Woody Bradell, editor Arthur Hilton, composer Miklos Rozsa. Siodmak, Hilton, and Rozsa all earned Oscar nominations, as did Anthony Wheeler, who might have felt a bit sheepish about accepting the Best Adapted Screenplay Oscar if he had won. Truth be told, once you get past the first 13 minutes, this is an entirely original screenplay, one that imagines all the backstory that Hemingway intentionally left out of his terse and ambiguous original. Featuring a fantastic supporting cast that includes Sam Levine, Albert Decker, and Jeff Corey, Here is the movie that Hemingway called, at the time, the only good picture ever made from a story of mine. It also must be on anyone's list of the most influential noir films ever made. Mark Hellinger's The Killers.